there, this is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com, and today we're going to answer some questions, so stay tuned. So a little while ago, I asked if y'all would give me some questions that you had, and I got a number of them. I actually wrote them down so that we can go over them. And so I'll just start it. Okay, the first question I have to answer is a young mama who has a 6-year-old who's reading really well and wants to know when she should be assigned reading and narration. And I think in this question I'm going to refer to Charlotte Mason, and something that she emphasizes that at the ages of 6 and 7, when they're just getting the very basics down, that you can just do oral narration. Or that's why I have in my book, I have the lesson books that I made for Charlotte Mason. If you want to order one of those or want to know further information, you can scroll down and go to my blog. Or I also have links to the Amazon site where you can purchase those. I have free lesson sheets that you can get off of my website as well. But the idea being is that at younger and younger ages, it's really hard for them to be competent enough to be able to write out what they have read. So either they can give you an oral narration, or they can talk about it just a little bit and then draw a narration. Narration can be just drawing parts of a story or what the story was about. And so my lesson book has a place for that. Okay, so that's something you can do. At 6 years old, it's got to be very basic, and you don't want to put a bad taste of learning for learning in a child's mind and heart by giving them something that they feel frustrated with, or they feel it as though they're a failure. So while some kids would love to draw the narration, other kids might not feel competent. So you might just want to talk about the story with them, or the book you just read. Just kind of talk about it, and that's narrating. As long as they're taking what was read to them or that they've read and putting it in their own words, then that's what you need to do. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And as far as how often that should be, I would think for a 6 or 7-year-old, maybe twice a week, maximum, maybe once a week. At that age, you don't have to push it too far. It depends. If I've got a child who loves to do that every day, then have fun, as long as you're not burning them out and they're not feeling burnt out. Okay. And then she also asks, how I handled having 6, 7, and under, and it actually was that way for me. By the time my oldest was 7 years old, I did have 6 children. So how I handled it every day, well, you just do the next thing, right? I woke up in the morning and I would actually make a list of some of the things I want to get done, and then I put that as a prayer before the Lord, so that I had to trust Him instead of trying to make it happen, because if I tried to make it happen, there were obviously going to be things that got in the way all day long. And if my oldest was 7 and I had all those little kids, I don't think that I would do formal academics, honestly. I have read, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Raymond Moore. He has written a book, he's passed now, but when he was alive, he wrote a book called Better Late Than Early, and he has a whole host of different statistics and studies that he uses in his book to make the argument that the way we push kids to read at a younger age doesn't really help them when they get older. It doesn't help them read any better when they're 12. Okay, it doesn't help them when they want to go to college. This is something, I think, that the idea of getting our kids to read earlier and earlier is something they push so that they can get more control of our children, so that they can keep them in the system and keep them kind of brainwashed. And but actually, human beings don't need to have close book learning when they're 6 and 7 years old. Boys especially, maybe even at the age of 9, it's when you should start. And math is the same way, and there are actual studies on this. This is not something I pulled out of my head. This is something that has been known naturally to mankind from eons. They knew that children needed time to develop and learn and play before you get them into close bookwork and academics. Okay, I'm just saying the truth. So if I had that situation, actually it's kind of what happened to me, but I felt like I was being forced into pushing my eldest daughter into reading at an earlier age, and I don't think that was good for her. But I felt I was pushed. I had relatives that were just really, 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 really pushing me to do that. I learned better later that I did not do that unless a child really, really had a need or a want to do that. I had a couple of kids I held off on, and they actually taught themselves to read. They taught each other basically how to read. But so what you need to do is you need to weigh that, and if you have all those little kids, then just every day make sure the human beings are kept alive and they're fed well and that they have time to play, and then every day make sure you sit down and read to them, especially nursery rhymes and fairy and folk stories and the Bible stories. Read all those things together and let them play all day long and include them in your life. Let them help you to clean, help you cook, help you do all kinds of things. Just include them and enjoy them. Enjoy them. Fill their love tanks. And then when it's time to actually sit down and do academics, when things kind of get a little more an even keel and you have like a helper or two, then you can take time to do concentrated reading and writing and arithmetic with them, but in short stints so that neither of you get burnt out. So I hope that helps. Okay, here's another question. How often, okay, I think I answered this one. How often to do notebooking with my 6-year-old daughter? I think I just mentioned how to do that. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Okay, someone also asked about printer, paper, and tools for printing your own books. Okay, well, first thing you want to do is you want to have a printer that it does both sides. They call it duplexing. You want to have a printer that does both sides. You want to make sure your printer you can do the XL cartridges that go for you can get those, aftermarket ones that work just as well. I use them all the time. Like I have an HB printer, and I think it might be 8 or so years old, about 8 years old, and that printer, I use aftermarket printer cartridges. HP doesn't even support the printer anymore, but I use it all the time. And it duplexes. It's a business all-in-one. Now I know there are many, many others you could use, but I'm just telling you my example. So I use that all the time, and what I do is I use the PDF printer portion, and I will print them out in booklets. Booklets of 4 pages each, and then if it's like a 300-page book, I'll print 4 pages each in booklet. You have to pick, when you do your printer dialog box for a PDF, you have to pick booklet. And so I do 4, it actually works out to 16 booklet pages, but it's 4 sheets of paper. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but anyway, and then I put all this together, and then what I have is I have one of those long arm staplers that just really help me. And then what I'll do is I'll staple those 4 together, and then I'll make all these booklets. I'll stack them up and I'll squish them together, and then I use hot glue gun and I glue all of those together on the back, and then I will make a cover. So I'll use a file folder for that, and it has like the folding things in the middle of the thing, and I'll fold it over and I'll cut it to the size of the book with a paper cutter. So that's another one. So what I've mentioned so far, it's like a printer, ink, paper, regular paper, and then file folders. A long arm stapler can help, and the hot glue gun. And what else did I mention? I think that's about it, I think. But one thing you can do, you can also get one of those staplers. Now I have this this recently. You can get one of those staplers that staples like 220 pages at a time, and you can just, staple that whole thing. You can cut it out to page and just do that. I do that a lot too. Heritage History actually has it where it's in a PDF and there are 2 pages on each page, and I think I've showed that in my other videos. So, you can just, staple that. There's another method where you can just use a 3-hole punch and 3-hole punch all your pages and get some dental floss and sew those with dental floss, and then get some duct tape and, you can put a construction paper cover on either side and just use duct tape on the spine, and you've got a book that you can open and read. So those are some different things that I use to do my own books. I also have tutorials on that. I think I have them here on YouTube, and I have it on my blog, momdelights.com. If you look on the blog portion of my website and do a search for printing books, then you should find it easy. Okay, now, so also someone asked me, what was a typical homeschool day for boys, preteens and teens, hands-on, and they don't enjoy reading? So this is the idea that I have about that. if you have at all the availability of some really hard outdoor work for your boys to do, or if you don't, let's say you have a basketball court in front of your house, or you have bicycles they can ride, or something like that. Like in the wintertime, they can shovel snow. Whatever you can get them to do, make sure your boys do a lot of physical activity before they ever sit down to do their schoolwork. Just wear them out, okay? And like, you can have them get up. I don't know what time you want them to get up, but have them get up and just do some hard chores. Do some physical exercises. Run around, go around on their bicycle for a ways, and then sit them down to do some homeschooling. Actually, the colder it is outside, the better off. And so that they will be really exercising their bodies and then get their minds into something when they're rested. After they have, like, even with little boys, they have to get their wiggles out first. So, if you're inside in the wintertime and you have all little kids, you can't really go outside and do things, then turn on some music and everybody do just some wiggles. You can do relay. I used to take my kids in our basement. I used to do relay races back and forth, and we'd try different things, like we'd hop on one foot or whatever. Just really get all those wiggles out. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they're going to be wiggly anyway, and you're going to be fighting their whole personality to get them to do a workbook page or get them to read a story. You are going to be fighting. Why fight a battle you can't win? Set yourself up for success. And have them do things. Think of hard, heavy chores. You can do that for them, or just things that would really engage their bodies. Yeah, just saying. Okay, enough of that. All right. Then someone asked for a general homeschool routine, like a day in the life, to see how all this stuff is implemented. And I understand that someone have that question. I know that would be the question on my mind. I would be, okay, that's nice, all these theories, but what does it look like? And so I think that I shall leave that for a whole nother video. Maybe I can just, I'll sit at my desk and I'll film and I'll show you different things you can do. I do have some videos where I talk about how you can get your own thing going. I mean, organize. I think if you go on my channel, Mom Delight's channel here on YouTube, you'll find that I do have, I think it's a video right at the front. I think that you can see where I talk about making your schedule for the day. So that might help until I can get that done. Okay, now, so someone asked me about cursive, introducing cursive. And I think it's very important to understand that anything we give to a child before they're physically or mentally able to do it is just going to be a total frustration. And I think it depends on every child. Like some kids are born and they could just, and other kids have a really hard time with their fine motor skills. And it's also sometimes eye-hand coordination. So you have to be careful when you introduce something that's extra in that area, that you're not just causing frustration for both of you. I mean, something that a child has really a struggle to do at 7, at 10, they're going to have it easily, right? So, you just have to look at your child, see how they're, how they're doing just with manuscript or with their drawing or whatever. And you can do little exercises. Some people have suggested that if they do cutting, and if you can have them do make a lot of just little O's and just see how that progresses for them. There are other things I think you can do. You can look it up just to kind of help them develop those little muscles and that ability. But you don't have to push it. Don't push it. Allow this to happen naturally for their lives. Otherwise, they're going to hate it the rest of their lives. How many men have you talked to that absolutely hate handwriting? I think that's because when they were boys, it was introduced before they were ready. And so they just absolutely abhor it. But their handwriting is really impeccable when they do write, right? It just was a hateful thing to them. So try to make it as fun as possible. I hope that helps you. This person wants to do Spencerian, and Spencerian is beautiful and it's wonderful, but you have to be careful because it's a copper plate. It was meant to imitate copper plate printing, so it's very precise. And actually, the Spencerian that we use was done for older students, like in high school, that were actually going to go on and be scholars and keep the books and stuff. So it's not really for little kids. Now, I do have for free on my blog, I have a McGuffey script. And the McGuffey script is very simplistic and it can be done with smaller children, and it's just for a download. So I will try to remember to link that below. So you can just use that for free, no obligation, no nothing. Okay, now, let's see, another person, I think think I've gotten it. Okay. So having said all that, I was thinking that maybe I could clarify some things about homeschooling, and this might help with the person who asked about a typical day. So when you're deciding how you're going to order your day and what you're going to do, I think we have to look at the ROI. Have you ever heard of ROI? That's return on investment. And of course, when we're talking in the business world, return on investment means how much you want to invest of commodities or time or money, and what kind of return you're going to get on that. In other words, if you're going to put out this much time, energy, and materials, how much return are you going to get on that investment? So when you're doing homeschooling, you only have so much time in a day, right? So since everybody only has 24 hours, that is a common denominator, whether you're rich or you're poor. You only have 24 hours, and you only have so many weeks and so many months and so many years in your life. So how are you going to get the best return on your investment of your time with your children? So what I would suggest you do, and this is going to be counterintuitive to our world where everyone is supposed to be gearing up to become something in life that makes them have a good life and lots of money and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but we're looking from the eternal perspective, which does include the physical things we'll do in this earth, but it's a better perspective, I think, than just this materialistic world view. Okay, so the first thing you want to invest that's going to give you the greatest return on your investment, the greatest return on any investment you will make with your time with your children, is in godliness and character. So, even though the first thing you want to do is you want to get right into math or right into handwriting or right into all these other things, the first thing we have to remember, the greatest return we will have on our investment of our time is going to be godliness and character. Because not only will that help you in your home life, it'll help with your relationship with your children the rest of your life. It'll go through into eternity. So the first place you should be investing with your children is in their spirit and their soul and their character. So that's the first thing you put in place. The second place, what I think would be orderliness and self-discipline. Because there are a lot of people that are very talented in this world, but they don't know what to do with themselves, so they will never do anything with their talent, right? But the ones that even have a little bit of talent, but they can order themselves. They can make themselves get up at a good time, take care of themselves, put their priorities in place. Those are the people that actually do something with the talents they do have. So that's the second thing I think you're going to get the greatest return on your investment. If you invest in the time it takes to teach your children good habits, then they are going to have those the rest of their lives, and it's going to come natural to them to want to follow through when they're supposed to wash the dishes or fill the dishwasher or sweep the porch. You see, because you've taught them orderliness and self-discipline, and that's gonna really come back to you in great ways. Okay, the third place that you should be investing for a great return is in the 3 R's, okay? Reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, reading and writing especially, and arithmetic as well, because if you don't get the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic down, I'm talking the basic arithmetic, then everything else past that is going to be a royal pain. It's going to drain you, and it's going to drain your children. So if you concentrate on the 3 R's, that is the third area. The fourth area then, the last area, is information. Now, we think of schooling as filling kids with information, like how the world works, this and that, and how many, all the physics equations and all this kind of stuff, and all the history people, and that's very important, but it's not as important as and you won't get your best return on your investment with information. For one thing, if you have all of the other places done, the information, they can fill it for themselves. So if you're taking all your time trying to get information and you're not taking care of godliness and character, you're not taking care of orderliness and self-discipline, you're not taking care of the 3 R's, you are going to have a real fight on your hands, and you're going to have to do a lot of work that your kids can do for themselves. So I hope that helps you, and I hope that blesses you. And now I'll give you something more. So I will have a confession for you today. I can get so task-oriented that I forget that my primary role as a mom and a wife is to fill love tanks first. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about constraining love. When I first heard this, I didn't think this word was being used correctly, but I've looked it up since and I think it's right. Constraining love is the love that Jesus had for his disciples that he expressed when he said that where I am, you may be there also. And what it was to the disciples is that they needed to know that Jesus wanted them to be with them. You see, what we do when we communicate, I want you to be here with me, it communicates great love to someone. And that's what Jesus was saying when he said that where I am, you may be also. And we can sometimes be so, this is me, okay? Sometimes I can be so concentrated on getting things done that I neglect to communicate that I want you here with me. You're not an interruption to what I want to get done. You are what I want to. You are the reason that I'm doing this. I want you included. I want you with me. Okay, and so I want to read this scripture. Okay. Jeremiah 31:3. The Lord has appeared of old to me, saying, yes, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness, I have drawn you. So he draws us close to him like a father pulling a child into his chest. Isn't that what we want? We want to be close with God. And so that's what we've got to be about. We've got to be, now we have to correct people. We have to set boundaries. We have to make sure the dishes are done, of course. But our first priority in order to have a Christ-like love for our husbands and our children, we need to let them know that we want to be with them and we want them to be with us. And that's how we can fill the love tanks. So I hope that blesses you. I hope that helps you. I need reminders like that. So you have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe. Bye-bye.